At the engagement gala, Sophie had her arm threaded through my fiancé's, smiling brighter than the chandeliers. "Lena, you're such a bore, you can't even put on makeup. How did you ever expect to keep a man?" Chase stood at her side, looking at me as though I were a bag of trash. "Lena, can't you see yourself clearly? I love Sophie. Would it kill you to let us be happy?" The guests whispered, phones lifted, laughter stabbing little holes in the air. I stared at the two of them and, oddly, smiled. From my clutch I drew my executive badge and slowly looped the lanyard around my neck. "Sophie. Chase. I'm the newly appointed global CEO of Vance International. As of this moment, you're both fired." Silence fell like a guillotine. I've known Sophie for 7 years. Day one of college, she stood at the dorm door dragging a suitcase, eyes wide. "Hi, could you tell me where room 402 is?" Back then she wore a ponytail and baby fat. Later we became inseparable. Her family had no money, so I paid her tuition. When interns bullied her, I marched to the office and raised hell. When a breakup left her sobbing, I sat on the rooftop with her all night. I gave her my heart and treated her like a sister. Junior year, I started dating Chase. When he courted me, Sophie was even giddier than I was. "Lena, this one's solid. Look how thoughtful. He remembers you like 3 pumps sugar in your milk tea and no ice during your period." How stupid I was, my best friend and my favorite man, both within arm's reach. 3 years after graduation, Chase and I decided to get engaged. I planned the entire engagement gala myself. Chase said work was crazy, Sophie volunteered to help. While I was busy choosing flowers, she tried on 10 wedding gowns just for fun. While I inspected venues, she took selfies against every backdrop. I never suspected a thing. I was handwriting engraved invitations, daydreaming about forever. Then, the night before the party, an emergency at the office sent me home early. The door was ajar. Strange noises came from the bedroom. I pushed it open. 2 bodies tangled on my sheets, Chase and Sophie. They froze for a second. Then Sophie smiled. No panic, no sheet clutched to her chest, just a lazy stretch against the headboard. "Lena, home early?" Chase rolled off, yanked on his pants, walked toward me. "Lena, we need to talk." My throat was ash. "Talk about what?" "Sophie and me, we're the real thing. The real thing." She padded over in a towel, tucked her hand through his arm, righteous as a bride. "Listen, you're dull, always pulling an all-nighter, always reading, always meal prepping kale. You don't own a lipstick, you don't do lingerie, you don't pout. You exhaust him." I gaped at her like she was a stranger. 7 years, Sophie. She blinked. 7 means nothing, love isn't first come first served. And don't worry, I'll always remember how good you were to me. But Chase, she rose on her toes and kissed him. He's always been mine. Chase curled an arm around her waist and kissed her back, right in front of me. My nails cut crescents into my palms. How long? She tilted her head. Started last year? You were away on a business trip, he got drunk, I took care of him, and then, she covered her giggle with the back of her hand. An entire year. While I was picking at her birthday spa voucher, she was in my bed. While I sat in the hospital lobby waiting for her prescription, she was texting him heart emojis. While I couldn't sleep and messaged her can't wait to marry him, they were probably laughing at the idiot downstairs. Chase broke the hush. "Lena, about tomorrow, don't show up." I snapped my head up. "We've invited everyone, calling it off would be humiliating," he went on. "Say you're sick. Sophie will stand in for you." Stand in? They'd been sleeping together for a year and now wanted me to gift wrap them my engagement party? Sophie clasped my hand, voice syrupy. "Lena, let us have this. You're amazing, someone better will snatch you up." "I only have Chase, I love him so much." Her eyes watered, the same puppy look that had wrung favors out of me countless times. I yanked free. "Tomorrow, I'll be there." I turned. Behind me she shrieked, "Don't be stupid. You'll only embarrass yourself." I kept walking. The next evening I wore the plainest white button-down, hair yanked into a messy bun, face bare. In the hotel lobby I literally bumped into them. Sophie glided in a strapless white gown, hair in an elegant updo, makeup flawless. Chase, tailored tux, hand on the small of her back, was greeting my relatives. Sophie's eyes sparkled when she saw me. "Look who's here," she sang, loud enough for the marble pillars to echo. "Lena, I thought you'd be home bawling." Aunts and uncles swiveled, voices low and pointed. "That's Lena? Why is she dressed like a receptionist? Isn't she the bride-to-be? Why is Sophie in white?" Chase's mother approached, scanning me like faulty goods. "Glad you came, Lena. Clear the air, tell everyone you and Chase are incompatible." "Stop clinging." "Clinging?" Sophie dabbed invisible tears. "Don't blame her. Love is unpredictable. I know you're hurting, but could you be generous for once?" Chase hugged her closer, gaze arctic. "Lena, get it through your head, I love Sophie. Would it kill you to step aside?" His cousin snorted. "Sophie's gorgeous and fun. What are you? Seriously, save face and leave." "Enough," Sophie soothed, gloating under her lashes. "Let her vent." She nestled into Chase. "Lena, you won't even put on mascara, no wonder you couldn't keep him. Find some average Joe and let us be, okay?" Chase kissed her forehead. "Come on, babe, let's go in." The procession followed, leaving me alone under the crystal chandeliers like a forgotten coat. I drew a slow breath, reached into my bag. "Stop." My voice wasn't loud, but they halted. Rowan spun, frowning. "Lena, don't make a..." The sentence died. She stared at the badge now resting against my shirt, color draining from her face. The small plastic card bore my photo, my name, and the title. Global CEO, Vance International. A hush swallowed the lobby. I spoke, calm as winter glass. "Sophie. Chase. I'm the newly appointed global CEO of Vance International. You're both fired. Effective immediately." Silence. Then nothing, just the echo of chandeliers and hearts breaking invisibly on marble. "No, impossible. The global CEO of Vance Global is Mr. Vance. Who do you think you..." I cut him off. "Mr. Vance is my father." For words, tossed into the crowd like a grenade. Chase's mother's knees buckled, she caught herself on the edge of a table. Relatives exchanged glances, a few already edging backward. Sophie's face went paper white, lips trembling, no sound coming out. Vance Global, Fortune 500. The company she swiped her badge at every morning. The job she bragged about, the ladder she fought to climb, my family's property. "No." Sophie finally shrieked, voice razor sharp, "Impossible. 7 years and you never said a word. How could you be Mr. Vance's daughter?" I looked at her and almost laughed. 7 years, and she'd never asked what my family did. She only knew I wore plain clothes, carried a regular phone, ate food truck tacos. She only knew I pulled all-nighters, read books, cooked dinner, just another office grunt. She'd never wondered why my overtime desk sat inside Vance Global headquarters. She never questioned why her resume vanished at a dozen firms, yet Vance Global invited her to interview. She'd taken everything I gave without a blink, then mocked me as boring. "Sophie," I said slowly, "who interviewed you your first day?" She froze. "It was you," her voice shook. "You were the one who interviewed me." "Yes," I said. "I sat in that room myself. You wanted a big name, so I opened the side door for you." Tears pooled in Sophie's eyes, panic this time, not theater. "Lena." "Lena, Chase lunged forward, clamping a hand around my wrist. "Lena. You can't do this. We've been together 3 years, I'm about to make director, you wouldn't." I glanced down at his fingers. "Let go." He didn't. Chase, I said evenly, you got into Vance last year because I told HR to fish your resume out of the shred pile. His hand snapped back as if burned. I smoothed my sleeve. When you started, you were an intern who couldn't do a thing. I told the department manager to mentor you, slice project credit your way, so you could crawl to where you are. Chase's face cycled through green and white. Sophie shook so hard tears smeared across her cheeks. Lena, I was wrong, really wrong. Just forgive me this once, please. She lunged to grab my hand. I stepped back. 7 years, I said. I bankrolled you for 7 years. Tuition, me. Rent, me. Your mom's hospital bills, me. Your brother's first job, my connection. Sophie, even the dress you're wearing is the birthday present I gave you last month. Which part of your life isn't my money? She stared at the dress, then crumpled to the floor, sobbing into her arms. Chase stood like a post. Not a single relative dared breathe loud. Chase's mother dropped to their knees and begged. Lena, have a generous heart. Chase wronged you, sure, but don't ruin him. He finally got this far. He's about to make director. You can't. I met her eyes, coolly. A moment ago you told me not to pester him. Her face flooded purple. I turned and walked toward the grand doors. Pausing at the threshold, I looked back. Sophie crouched on the carpet, wailing. Chase stood frozen, everyone else stared. By the way, I said, your HR files get a new note. Fired for gross misconduct, blacklist industry-wide. Cross the Vance name, and no one in this town will touch you. I left. Behind me, Sophie's scream ripped the air. Next morning I was back in the tower for meetings. New title, new fires. Board session ended. I ate takeout sushi in my office at noon. My assistant knocked. Taylor, there are 2 people, on their knees outside. I kept chewing. Who? Your former friends. One named Sophie, one named Chase. I swallowed. Let them kneel. 3 o'clock, second meeting done. They're still down there, Dee informed. I moved to the glass wall and looked. On the plaza below, 2 figures knelt under the sun. Sophie's makeup had melted into tiger stripes, hair matted, same dress glued to her skin. Chase knelt beside her, head drooping. Security had formed a ring, while employees gawked from a distance. Dee whispered, Taylor, should we clear them? Doesn't look great. I shrugged. Leave them, but let them stay there, I said, until dark, until their legs snap. She fell silent. 5 p.m., I grabbed my bag to leave. Dee hurried in. Taylor, Chase's mom just showed up. She's kneeling too. I arched a brow, full set, how tidy. Bag in hand, I rode down. At the main entrance 3 people knelt in a perfect row. The moment Chase's mother spotted me she began to kowtow, forehead smacking marble. Lena, please. Chase knows he was wrong. Spare him just this once. Sophie lifted her swollen face. Lena, I'll do anything. I'll kowtow. I'll be your servant. She started banging her head, thud after thud. Chase stayed motionless, eyes hollow. From the top step I studied them. Sophie, let me ask you something. She stopped, blood speckling her forehead. Go ahead. That night in bed, what were you laughing at? Sophie's expression iced over. You saw me come in, I said, and you smiled. What was so funny? Her lips quivered, no answer. I gave it to her. You thought you'd won. You'd stolen my man, proved you were better. You never saw me as a friend. Just a walking wallet who paid your bills, paved your road, handed you a career and a future. How many jokes did you crack in your head? Calling me dumb, dull, unworthy of love. Tears gushed down Sophie's cheeks. Lena, it wasn't. I truly, don't call me Lena. I cut her off. Stay on your knees if you like. I descended, passing within inches of them. Chase suddenly lunged, clutching my ankle. Lena! I looked down. His eyes were bloodshot, a rabid dog's. Do you have to be this cruel? 3 years together, doesn't that count for something? I stared at him. Old times? You slept with Sophie for a year, did that feel nostalgic? When you two humiliated me at the engagement gala, were you feeling sentimental? His fingers slipped away. I freed my foot and kept walking. 1 week later, Sophie and Chasegate had circled the city. Vance Global's internal memo announcing their termination for gross misconduct stayed pinned to the bulletin board the full 7 days. Industry insiders chatted over cocktails. Sophie mailed out 30-plus resumes, 0 callbacks. Chase fared worse, enemies he'd stepped on resurfaced like sharks. A headhunter rang, heard you got canned from Vance, what happened? An ex-colleague posted, karma finally cashed the check. A junior he once bullied messaged the group, Casey, where are you working now? Need me to intro you somewhere? Chase never replied. That night I got a text from an unknown number. Lena, I was wrong. Please let me off. I can't go on living. I stared at it for 2 seconds, then deleted it. 2 days passed. My assistant knocked and stepped inside. Taylor, Sophie's here again. No, she asked me to tell you she's pregnant. I looked up. Whose? Chase's. I went silent for 2 seconds. Send her in. When Sophie walked in, I almost didn't recognize her. A week had shaved pounds off her, cheekbones sharp, eyes sunken. Her hair hung in a mess, clothes rumpled like she'd slept in them. She stopped in front of me, head down, afraid to meet my gaze. I leaned back in my chair. Pregnant? She nodded. How far along? 2, a little over 2 months. 2 months ago, right when she and Chase were at their hottest. I lifted my teacup, took a sip. What does Chase say? Sophie's eyes reddened. He told me to get rid of it. Get rid of it? He didn't offer to marry you? She shook her head, tears falling. He says he has nothing now, can't afford a kid, told me to end it first, we'll talk later. I studied her. The dress draped loose on her frame, purple crescents under her eyes. A month earlier she'd flaunted herself on my fiancé's arm, radiant and smug. Now she stood like a stray dog. Sophie, I said, what do you want? She jerked her head up. Lena. Don't call me Lena. She pressed her lips, switched, Ms. Taylor. I want to come back to Vance. I'll do anything, sweep floors, wipe desks, just give me a paycheck. I raised a brow. You don't hate me? She shook furiously. No. I wronged you. It was all my fault. I shouldn't have taken Chase, shouldn't have treated you like that. Tears streamed. I was wrong. I really know it now. Please, give me a way to survive. I watched her cry for a full 5 minutes. Then I picked up the phone. Dee, come in. The assistant stepped inside. Taylor, take her down, process the paperwork. Entry-level post, intern pay. Jordan, then she dropped to her knees and begged. Alex. Sam. I'll work hard. I'll repay you. I waved a hand. Dee led her out. The door shut. I gazed out the window, the corner of my mouth lifting. Chase, you're next. 3 days later, Chase showed up too. He looked worse than Sophie. Sophie at least got a dignified exit, scrub level, sure, but still Vance Global, the name carried weight. Chase was radioactive. A rival rainmaker had whispered industry-wide, hire Chase and you're dead to me. Not a single firm would touch him. He tried old buddies for a loan, they bolted the door. He asked his parents. His mother sobbed, "We're still paying the debts from your condo and that car." He hunted for Sophie. She was in the company dorm I'd assigned. She slammed the door in his face. He pounded for half an hour before security dragged him off. That night he texted again. "Lena, I was wrong, really wrong. Please see me." I didn't answer. Another ping, "Sophie's carrying my baby. I have nothing, even the kids slipping away. Do you have to watch me die?" I stared 2 seconds, then typed one line. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m., my office. 10 sharp." Chase appeared at my door. Thinner, unshaven, bruise-colored bags under his eyes, suit wrinkled like it had been trashed and salvaged. I motioned to the chair. He stayed standing, head bowed, a beaten dog. "Lena, speak," I said, leaning back. "What do you want?" His Adam's apple bobbed. I want my job back." "On what grounds?" He blanked, stunned 2 beats. I know I messed up. Just forgive me this once." I asked for grounds. I cut in. "Why should I?" Color flared in his cheeks. We had 3 years. Was I ever bad to you?" "Never stole your money, never hit you. But you cheated," I said. "For a year." He choked. "You slept with my best friend, and together you humiliated me at our engagement gala, tried to force me out. That's never lied to me?" Chase lowered his head, fists clenched. "I get it. I was wrong. I'll do anything." I held his gaze a long while, then lifted the phone. Send Sophie up." 5 minutes later Sophie slipped in. Seeing Chase, she flinched and stepped back. "Ms. Taylor." I pointed to the sofa. "Sit." She perched 2 yards from him. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, back to them. "Sort your own mess. Sophie's 2 months pregnant. It's yours. What are you going to do?" Silence. A stretching, bitter silence. Finally Chase spoke. "I'll marry her." Sophie's head snapped up. Chase met her eyes, a twitch of a smile. "The kid's mine. I'll own it. We'll get married." Tears glazed Sophie's eyes. "Chase." "But," he went on, "we need jobs first. If I can't get back into Vance, how do we live? What happens when the baby comes?" He looked at me. "Lena, give us a lifeline. Let both of us back." "I swear I'll grind, never cross you again." I turned. "Chase, are you bargaining with me?" His face drained. "No. I didn't mean." "You too," I said. "One my best friend, one my fiancé, cheated for a year, then teamed up to shame me at my engagement gala and push me aside. Now you want me to throw you a rope?" Chase was sheet white. "Lena, it's not like that. We really regret it." "Regret?" I laughed. "You regret because you robbed the wrong mark. If I weren't CEO of Vance, if I were just another office grunt, would you feel sorry?" Neither answered. I stared them down. "Fine. Chase, you want back in?" "Done. Entry-level post, same as Sophie. You marry, you have the kid, you play happy family." Chase blinked, then joy flooded his face. "Alex. Dylan. I'll give everything. I swear." "Don't celebrate yet," I cut in. "There are clauses. 1, you both sign an agreement either of you cheats again, you walk away with nothing, custody goes to the other. 2, half of each paycheck goes to your debts, mortgage, car loans, you clear them yourselves. 3, no quitting for 5 years. Chase's expression cycled through shock, fear, resignation, then he nodded. "Deal. All of it." I looked at Sophie. She kept her head down, biting her lip. "Sophie, how about you?" She lifted her head slowly. I agree too. I smiled. Then it's settled. Go get ready. You start tomorrow. After they left, my assistant Dee stepped closer. Taylor, you're really going to forgive them? I didn't answer. Don't you think this is letting them off too easy? I stared out the window. Dee, do you know what's meant by death by a dull blade? She blinked. Let them marry. Let them stay bound to each other. Let Chase look at Sophie every day and remember how this baby was made. Let Sophie look at Chase every day and remember how easily he once said, "Get rid of it." Let them grind to pay the debts, too scared to take a single day off. Let them blame each other, accuse each other, drain each other. 5 years. After 5 years they'll either be each other's mortal enemy, or empty husks. I turned and met Dee's gaze. Tell me, is that cheaper than firing them? Dee stared for 2 heartbeats, then smiled slowly. Taylor, you're brutal. I said nothing. Brutal? When they chose to be brutal to me, they never paused to ask that question. 1 year later, Sophie and Chase's life turned out even more colorful than I'd pictured. They married. The wedding was simple, make that shabby. Few guests, barely any tables, the bride in a rented wedding gown, the groom in the same old suit he'd worn months earlier. Sophie cried hard that day. Not from joy, from suffocation. 7 months pregnant, she stood on the stage cradling her belly, listening to the officiant recite the same tired blessings while a dozen odd relatives clapped politely below. Chase's mother sat in the front row, lips pressed in a flat line. She hated Sophie, convinced that without Sophie's seduction her son would have married Lena by now, a VP at Vance Global, the Mercer family someday inheriting the entire company. Sophie's parents weren't happy either. They'd expected their daughter to marry up. Instead, she'd landed a man blacklisted across the industry. After the banquet, the couple returned to their studio apartment. 40 square feet of cramped walk-up, $2,000 a month, the only place they could afford. Chase lay on the bed scrolling on his phone while Sophie, belly first, tried to tidy up. Could you give me a hand? She finally asked. He didn't look up. I've been grinding the whole day. Let me breathe. I worked too. And I'm pregnant. So what? Not my fault you forgot birth control, Jordan. She remembered the day months ago when Chase had knelt outside Lena's office saying, "I'll marry her, I'll take responsibility." Back then she'd actually believed he meant it. Now she knew. He'd taken responsibility because there'd been no other exit. That night Sophie cried a long time. After the baby arrived, things got harder. A girl. The moment Chase's mother saw the infant, she stormed out. Sophie's parents stayed 3 days, muttered something about urgent business, and left. Sophie was alone, C-section stitches still raw, nursing, changing, washing. Chase left at dawn, came back late. Said he was working, really he was hiding. He didn't want to see the shrieking infant or Sophie's haggard face. His homecoming slid from 8 to 9, then 10, then 11. Sophie asked where he'd been, he answered, pulling an all-nighter. Jamie. She went to HQ and pulled his punch-in log. Every day he clocked out at 6. That night he came back at midnight. Sophie waited in the dark. The door opened and she lunged, clawing. Where were you? Out cheating again? Caught off guard, Chase caught 3 bleeding scratches on his cheek. Have you lost it? He shoved her off. I drank with coworkers. Which coworkers? Men or women? Guys. Call and check if you don't believe me. Jamie. She tore through his phone, WhatsApp, iMessage, call list. Nothing. Which only convinced her something was there. He must have deleted it. Must have. From then on she checked on him during work, after hours, even weekends. Avery. Chase cracked. What do you want? You rage when I stay out, you rage when I come home, are you sick? Sophie shrieked back, you're the sick one. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Their shouting brought the cops. The officers mediated, left. They kept shouting. Chase started drinking. Drunk, he cursed her. It's all you. If you hadn't thrown yourself at me, I'd still be a Vance director. 6 figures a year, any woman I wanted. After enough tirades, Sophie fired back. I threw myself? You came running. You said Lena was dull, you said she couldn't dress up or act cute, you said you wanted a switch. And you? You knew she had a man and you still climbed all over me. What kind of friend steals her best friend's guy? They flung dirty laundry like knives, slicing each other open. Sometimes the yelling woke the baby, they'd pause, one to rock the child, the other to flop on the couch. Next day the war resumed. I ran into them at the office a few times. Sophie was gaunt, cheekbones sharp, purple half-moons under her eyes. Hair knotted any old way, dressed in whatever lay closest, no trace of the glamorous best friend. Chase looked worse. A decade older, hair thinning, beer gut pushing out his shirt, shoulders hunched like some defeated middle-ager. When they spotted me in the corridor they'd duck their heads and detour. If we passed too close they'd stop and wait for me to go first. I never looked at them, as if they were air. Once Sophie blocked my path. Eyes red, she faced me. Taylor, can I say something? I stopped. Speak. She opened her mouth, then shut it. Finally a sentence slipped out. Alex you. I raised an eyebrow. For what? Alex you, for letting me keep this job. Her voice was tiny. Without it, my baby and I would've. I studied her. Stick thin, eyes swollen, standing before me like a starving stray. Sophie, I said, do you hate me? She shook her head frantically. No. Not at all. Really? Really? I wronged you, and you've still been generous. I held her gaze. Her pupils flicked. I smiled. Sophie, do you know why I keep you here? She froze. I leaned in, voice low. Because I enjoy the show. You tearing each other apart, day after day, dragging one another deeper into the muck. You wanted Chase? He's yours. Savor every minute. Sophie's face drained of color. I straightened, patted her shoulder. Work hard. 5 years is a long road. I walked away. She stayed rooted behind me. 5 years later, the day their contracts expired, I had HR pull their files. 5 years. Half of every paycheck had gone to debts, the rest to staying alive, not a cent saved. Chase had gone completely bald, a beer gut jutting forward, his face etched with defeat. Sophie had aged the fastest, barely 30, yet crow's feet at the corners of her eyes could have skewered a mosquito. Their daughter was 4, scrawny and slight, locked inside a studio apartment all day. That afternoon they walked into my office together. 5 years had passed since the last time they stood side by side without hurling insults or blame. Chase kept his head down. Taylor, the contract's up. I leaned back in my chair and waited for him to finish. He swallowed. We'd like to quit. I raised an eyebrow. Quit? For where? Sophie took over, voice barely above a whisper. Back home. We want to take the kid back there. Cost of living is cheaper. I looked at her. 5 years, and she'd finally learned the word cheap. Fine, I said. Process the paperwork and you're done. They froze, clearly not expecting it to be so simple. Chase opened his mouth, then clamped it shut again. Sophie stared at the floor, fists clenched. After a long pause she lifted her head. Taylor, can I ask you something? Ask. Did you, even for a second, ever still think of me as a friend? I regarded her. Her eyes were rimmed red. 5 years, and she had finally voiced the question. I didn't answer. I pulled a folder from my drawer and tossed it onto the desk. Before you go, read this. Chase opened it and went rigid. Sophie leaned in, color drained from her face, one shade at a time. It was an investigation report. Words Chase had spoken to someone 5 years ago, right after they'd first gotten together. Lena? She's a fool wrapped around my finger. Quinn thinks I actually love her. Once I'm secure at Vance Global, I'll dump her. One pays my bills, one warms my bed, hell of a deal. Sophie's hand began to tremble. Slowly she turned toward Chase. Chase's face was white as paper. Sophie, listen, that was 5 years ago. I was young and stupid. Sophie said nothing. She stared until the red in her eyes cooled into flat, icy black. 5 long years. She had believed, at minimum, that Chase had truly loved her once. Even after the cheating, the curses, the drunken punches, she had clung to the thought that, in the beginning, there had been real love. Now she knew. From start to finish, she'd been a punchline. She'd stolen her best friend's fiancé, convinced she'd snagged true love. While that man slept with her, inside he was laughing. Sophie, Chase stammered, reaching out, just let me explain. She shoved his hand aside. Don't touch me. She pivoted toward me. Taylor, Alex you. I held her gaze. Alex me for what? Alex you for showing me exactly what he is. She walked out. Chase scrambled after her. The door clicked shut. Quiet settled over the office. I sat, eyes on the window. Sunset glowed orange above the skyline. My assistant D slipped in. Taylor, they've left. What do you think will happen to them? I said nothing. What would become of them? No idea. Maybe divorce, maybe endless mutual torment, maybe heading back to farm a plot of dirt, maybe dying unnoticed in some ditch. I had no interest in finding out. I picked up the folder and flipped to the last page, the chat logs from 5 years earlier, the night of my engagement gala. Chase and Sophie had lounged on my bed, mocking me while texting. Chase, after tomorrow she's out of the picture for good. Sophie, don't go soft on me. Chase, soft? That boring woman's a chore to look at. Sophie, then why 3 years with her? Chase, she bankrolled me. Didn't you notice how freely she spends? Family's got money. Sophie, so you're dropping her now? Chase, deep pockets, but finite. You're fun. Sophie, stop it. Chase, nail the act tomorrow. No slip-ups. Sophie, relax. That idiot won't catch on. I closed the file, fed it into the shredder. A low hum, then a soft rain of paper dust. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon. I stood, tidied my desk, ready to leave for the day. My phone pinged. Lena, free tonight? New French place, supposed to be great. My current boyfriend, finance guy, young, accomplished, easy on the eyes. 2 years together, treats me well. Says he loves me for me, nothing else. I typed back, sure. 7? Shouldered my bag and walked out. In the elevator I checked my reflection, simple white button-down, hair piled in a loose bun, face bare. Exactly how I looked 5 years ago. The only difference lurked in my eyes. Back then they'd held anticipation, trust, a spark. Now they held nothing at all. The doors slid open on the ground floor. I stepped out. Night was perfect, city lights flickering to life. A black sedan waited at the curb, a man climbed out, smiling and waving. Lena, over here. I approached, he opened my door, then rounded to the driver's side. Soft music floated from the speakers, my favorite band. Rough day? He asked. I stared beyond the glass. Not bad. French tonight, or omakase? You pick. He laughed and took my hand. I didn't pull away. Neon strobed past the window. I remembered this day 5 years ago, the betrayal, the spectacle of my engagement party. Now, Sophie and Chase mired at the bottom, gnawing at each other, no escape. The guests who once scoffed now scurred around me. Chase's mother, paralyzed by a stroke last year, with no one to care. Sophie's parents, shouting daily that their daughter brought them shame. And me, riding in this man's car toward a restaurant I don't care about, for a meal I don't crave. He says he loves me. Maybe he does, but I no longer believe in love. Lena, he murmured, something on your mind? I turned, his eyes were sincere, laced with concern. I smiled. Just old memories. Like what? Nothing, I said. It's all behind me. The car sped onward. City lights flickered like constellations. Inside, I was calm. The woman betrayed on her engagement night died 5 years ago. In her place sits someone who will never offer her heart again, someone who trusts neither love, nor friendship, nor anyone. That is the legacy Chase and Sophie left me, and I'm perfectly fine with it.